So you might be wondering, well, what makes the DJI 360 camera so special? It was when I started that I really started to get frustrated. And from that perspective, I gotta say, I'm very impressed. The does not have that one key feature. Every single time when I export, my first thought is, God, that looks good. Where it really kind of grinds my gears, it was not mentioned in any of these influencer review videos. Would I still buy this camera today? I think the answer is if you're anything like me, you've probably been eagerly awaiting DJI's first offering in the 360 camera space. I mean, after all, they have built a really strong reputation on things like high image quality and just overall user experience. And from that perspective, I gotta say, I'm very impressed. But I gotta be honest, after using this camera for a couple of months, there are a couple things that I've encountered that have made me question whether or not I should have bought this camera in the first place. We need to talk about it. So for any of you who've used a 360 camera, then you know how absolutely dynamic these cameras can be and really just how creative you can get with the shots. But for those of you who haven't, let me just talk a little bit about what makes 360 cameras so cool. So first off, as you might imagine with the name, they shoot in 360 degrees. So that means, all around the camera. That's why they have, two lenses. They've got a lens on each side. And so what is so cool about that is it allows you to really not worry about the shot itself as you're getting it. You just kind of know that for the most part, everything around you is going to be in the frame, and you can kind of make the selection as to what makes it into the shot later. Now, the downside of that is, of course, that you do have a little more work in post. When it comes to editing, you're going to have to make some decisions about what you're going to actually take from that when it comes to cropping and reframing the shots. But it makes for a whole lot more relaxed sort of shooting experience when you don't have to always constantly worry about, did you get that in the right shot from the right angle? You just kind of know you've always got it. And in addition to just reframing sort of static shots, you're able to also do things like sort of animation or keyframing that allows you to have movement with the camera that you would not otherwise be able to get. And I found myself sometimes just kind of setting and forgetting the camera depending on what I'm shooting. And I know that I'm gonna get everything that I need in the shot, especially if it's not in a vlog setting like this. Now, with a vlog setting like this, what's cool is that I know that I'm gonna be able to get me in the shot, and I'm also gonna be able to get what's in front of me. So if I want to switch back and forth between, for instance, me right now as I'm talking to the camera, or I can instantly just flip directly to what's in front of me, what I'm seeing, and I really just have to switch the framing. Now, another cool thing about vlogging like this with the 360 cameras, you can do like I'm doing right now with this invisible selfie stick. So it's actually allowing me to put it a little further out, but you can't even see it on the screen. I'm currently using the Alonzi TT52. I'll put a link in the description like I always do, along with some other content creation tools that I'm using. But anyway, this allows for you to get an even wider shot because I can hold the camera even further away from my body. So you might be wondering, well, what makes the DJI 360 camera so special? Why is everybody anticipating this when there have been, of course, other 360 cameras for a while now? Actually, DJI is a little bit late to the game. Well, I think a lot of us have grown to love a lot of things about DJI technology, the color science. I really love how their cameras have sort of an ecosystem. So if you've got the DJI Mic 2, like I've got on right now, or the DJI Mic Mini or the 3, you can pretty much pair these microphones with any of their cameras like the Pocket 3, the Action 4, the Action 5. So this is just another addition to that sort of ecosystem. Additionally, if you're someone like me who uses lots of DJI cameras, you become used to using D-Log-M, which is a really great flat color profile, sort of a log-like profile that allows you a whole lot more latitude to move colors and shadows around. And as you might imagine, this DJI 360 camera comes with the use of D-Log-M. It's also in 10-bit color, which is a big thing, and that definitely makes it stand out among the competitors. And if you've never used any of DJI's cameras or aren't familiar with the D-Log-M footage, I want to show you a little bit what that looks like as just raw footage, and then I want to show you a little bit after I've color graded it. I want to show you a little bit what that looks like as just raw footage, and then I want to show you a little bit after I've color graded it. And some other things that makes this camera stand out as a 360 camera compared to the competitors is that you can shoot in 8K up to 50 frames per second, 6K up to 60 frames per second, and 4K up to 120 frames per second. And additionally, and I think this is one of the cool things that DJI has been doing with a lot of their camera releases recently, is that it comes with some internal storage. So this camera comes with 128 gigs of internal storage without even having to purchase an SD card right out of the gates. And there's some other comparisons that you can make when it comes to runtime and water depth, and I don't want to make this a really in-depth review of the 360 camera. I'll probably do that in a later video, but I just wanted to give some highlights and why it's been so highly anticipated. So those are the good parts. Let's take a little ride and find somewhere comfortable to sit and talk about the hard stuff. So, for the disappointments. So for starters, I guess I'll just go ahead and mention something you've probably heard other creators talking about with this camera, and that's the non-replaceable lenses. Now, I'll be honest, that's certainly not my biggest complaint, and the main reason for that, well, it's a couple things. For one, we knew that going into this, so that wasn't a surprise. I was prepared for that. And while I know that's frustrating to other creators or other users of this camera who have previously owned 360 cameras, especially when, you know, there are other ones hitting the market that have, you know, self-replaceable lenses, that hasn't been my experience. This is my first 360 camera. But it's worth pointing out that prior to the Insta360 X5, is it, having replaceable lenses, no camera prior to that had replaceable lenses. So it was something you just already had to kind of put up with. It was when I started going into using the camera and really seeing how it practically applies to my editing process that I really started to get frustrated. Now, first off, like I mentioned earlier in the video, of course, there is a secondary process to this when it comes to 360 cameras, and I'm totally okay with that. I mean, there is the convenience of shooting on the front end, so that's kind of just, you know, a little bit of give and take there. But I will say, I haven't used any other 360 camera softwares, but my first impression with the DJI Studio is that it is incredibly clunky. Now, those of you who have had 360 cameras otherwise and you're using the, you know, Insta360 software, I would love to know how this compares to that. But my first impression is this doesn't really meet the standards for DJI technology to this point, at least in my experience. But here's where I would say I have my first real complaint about the Osmo 360 experience, especially as it pertains to the DJI Studio. So one of the things that I was looking forward to the most with this camera is the ability to use the intelligent tracking. Now, I've seen how that works on the Osmo Action 5. I never got the Action 5, I had the Action 4, but it looked like that technology was pretty incredible to be able to use their software to do the tracking versus something like the Pocket 3 that has obviously a mechanical gimbal. So I went into the studio to try to, you know, reframe the shot that way, where maybe I'm doing a vlog shot and I want to make sure that it's tracking me. But when I go into the studio, I'm kind of fumbling around, I can't find it anywhere. So the first thing I do is, well, go look at some tutorials on YouTube. And I must have watched, I don't know, 5 or 6 tutorials where they were showing exactly how it works, and this thing looks seamless. Every influencer that is reviewing this camera is showing how easy it is, just the click of a button and you've got intelligent tracking. But meanwhile, I'm wondering why I can't find this. I'm looking around the dashboard of the DJI Studio, and sure enough, where that button is in those tutorials, it's missing on mine. And why is that? Well, with a little more research, I was able to find that the Windows version software of the DJI Studio does not have that one key feature. Now, is this the end of the world and maybe it comes with a later update? Not really, but where it really kind of grinds my gears is that was never actually mentioned in any of the marketing. It was not mentioned in any of these influencer review videos. And I don't know about you, but that's a pretty major feature to just kind of forget to mention. So now I'm sort of left with many times keyframing to try to keep myself in the frame, which is super time consuming when the editing process with the 360 camera already is pretty time consuming. And then I thought, well, at least from what I can see, they use Premiere Pro integration. I think it's called Reframe, the plugin that they've got available for Premiere Pro. So I thought, well, maybe I got a keyframe in there, but at least it's a little less clunky. No big deal. So I go to the download center on the DJI website, go to find that they've got the Premiere Pro plugin, Reframe, and I go to download it. What do I find? No Windows version. Now, I'm not sure what the percentage of users of DJI cameras are Windows users, but I gotta imagine it's a pretty significant chunk. So where does that leave me with my assessment of this camera? Let's take a walk. Well, I think it's fair to say that it has definitely made the experience of using this camera for me a lot less fun and a whole lot more time consuming. And so, you know, I've been thinking about it over the last couple weeks. I will say that every time that I'm creating a video, I find myself getting super frustrated in the DJI Studio app and you know, having to keyframe things to keep me in the frame if I'm doing a certain vlog shot where it might not just be a straightforward shot, but every single time when I export that MP4 out of DJI Studio, typically my first thought right after I look at it as it comes out of there is, God, that looks good. So I guess all that to say, I've had thoughts about whether or not I would have purchased this camera had I known that in the beginning. I don't know that I would change my decision to purchase this camera, and I base that on a couple of things. Really, that comes down to the reputation that DJI has as far as just their ingenuity, their software, and their capability to put out incredible products and incredible software. And so I trust that they will eventually get a Windows version of this software that has all of the features out. But secondly, a reason that kind of makes me feel like, well, I probably would have still stuck with this camera anyway, is just the overall quality of this camera. I mean, they kind of got you there. In my opinion, there's not really a whole lot of other companies doing it as well, doing these small cameras in terms of their color science and overall image quality. So I guess I'm just gonna put up with it for now, and fingers crossed they come up with a solution. But what do you think, guys? What I didn't want is for someone else to make this purchase without knowing that up front. Would I still buy this camera today? I think the answer is yes, but I sure wish I would have known that in advance. So hopefully that helps you if you're considering buying this camera. I will leave a link to this camera as well as some of my favorite accessories down in the description. And now you know you can make an informed decision. Well, guys, I'm gonna enjoy the sun setting here in a little bit and the rest of this cool breeze. A little more of a bike ride out here. So thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, go make something rad. See ya.
Talk about how funny would it be to get on your bike and ride into your
Yeah, it would be hilarious.